Good afternoon, folks. How are we doing? That was a slightly chaotic 10-minute countdown for me. Oh, good grief. So I did my normal business. I'm like, okay, right, it's about 10 to, so make sure on the right thing, lights on, reset the timer countdown, play the music, press go stream. And then quickly, I can't remember what I did, and then glance back at the timer wasn't counting down at all. And it's like, okay, right, so let's fudge that and make that like 8 minutes and stuff like that. And then like 4 minutes ago, my wife phones. Like, okay, right, so I'm about to be on stream, so let's just quickly make sure everything's muted and stuff like that. And then the moment leapt to mind of, oh, I have an iPhone and I'm streaming on a Mac, and I know some of his calls can come through on my Mac. And that moment of completely doubting any semblance of sanity of, because I'm sharing desktop audio here for the music, it was a moment of, is there a chance that my phone call is about to come through or has come through on stream? So quickly messed around with that. 1 second, just adjusting my mic a little bit. So quickly, let's mute the music just for a second. Mute the desktop audio just in case a phone call comes through on stream. Oh dear, but all is fine. We're here. We're good. How are you? Oh dear. Weeks are flying by. Somehow it is mid to late March. I'm pretty sure, like I said before, like January seemed to last forever. February disappeared in a heartbeat. And now we are running out of March very quickly. An adventure to stream. Yeah, pretty much that. And hello, Radiant Leaf. I hope you are well today. Hello to anyone else who happens to be lurking. You're awesome. Please keep being awesome. What have I been up to? Well, actually, before we get to what have I been up to, it's a ridiculous point to indicate. But I got through. I kind of got myself sorted this morning, and day job stuff starts at 9. And I was just putting the blurb up about, streaming today, this is what we're going to be talking about. And I thought, well, let's just do a quick glance at YouTube Studio, TikTok, etc., see if anything has done any interesting numbers. And I had a quick glance at the highlights reel, and I realised I'm wearing like the same 1 or 2 shirts in almost every single one of my little clips. And entirely by accident, I do own many shirts. But apparently I just happen to settle on the same ones for like Monday and Wednesday, which you don't tend to notice in day job stuff because you don't track what people are wearing. But when you have like a collated highlight reel of you going, that's you in the blue checkered one and the green checkered one and the blue one and the green one and the green one and the blue one, it's like, right, sod it, right, I'm going to go and change quickly. I'm going to put on another shirt, which is not terribly ironed, to be honest. But it was like, yeah, this looks like there's this streamer who just wears the same clothes like every single day, which undoubtedly there are many streamers who do exactly that, but not exactly the impression I want to give off. I did also have to remove a million stickers from my top here because yesterday, my daughter loves stickers, she really does, but she was just going sticker crazy yesterday. So I was on the phone to my dad. And she would just kind of run into the room and put another sticker on it, and another sticker, another sticker. And by the end of the call, I was covered in about 15 Spidey stickers and various Paw Patrol stickers as well. So I just did a quick test here, and it's like, okay, I can see from this far upwards. I think I removed about 8 stickers from me, which I'm sure would have added character, but maybe not something to be preserved forever. You're like a cartoon character. You have the same shirts in multiples. I don't actually. They're very close to be honest. But no, I love that. Is that a Scooby-Doo? Is that a Scooby-Doo in-joke? We've got our luggage. What does it matter? We wear the same clothes every day. You were a Pokedex. Yeah, pretty much. Oh dear. What did I get up to this weekend? Not a huge amount. Toddler was rather uncooperative on Saturday. We decided, it was a relatively nice day, and wasn't meant to be raining until the evening. Thought, let's get out and about. I think we could all use a bit of fresh air. So we decided we're going to go to Epping Forest, which is about half an hour, 40 minutes away. A bit of a wander around the trees, maybe grab some dinner afterwards. So that'd be good. And our little one categorically said no. she didn't want to go outside, didn't want to do this, didn't want to do that, and it's one of those. It's like it is too much bother to fight her on this. We could have bundled her in the car, but to be honest, if she's messing around, if she's being really stroppy, then no fun will be had by anyone. So we said, okay, we won't do it. And then we got to like 2:30 when she decided she wanted to go, and it's like, okay, it gets dark at like 6. So very quickly, we got ourselves sorted, got in the car, and got there for about 4:45 or something. And we had a good little one there, and we did get some very nice dinner afterwards. It was just like, toddlers are so unreasonable. They really are. Oh dear, it seems to be a running theme of this channel. For the record, love my daughter dearly, but good grief, she can be a pain in the arse at times. And if you are watching this years from now, you're a pain in the arse at times. Okay. Anything else? Anything else of note? Not really. Relatively quiet, I think. Continued writing is going well for Charity Thing, which I'm really hoping I can announce something about soon. But I want to finish the writing, and I do have to get some bits and pieces sorted with getting people involved before I announce that. But it's looking good. It's looking good. All right. So we ended up watching. Well, rather, my wife ended up starting The Good Place again. Now, we've watched The Good Place a few times and really enjoyed it, but she likes to have something on in the evening, which she can dip in and out of, I can dip in and out of, which is totally cool. And she's just finished a rewatch of Grey's Anatomy and decided to put on The Good Place, which I think we've not watched for a few years yet. Maybe pre-pandemic, possibly, not sure. But it's very, very enjoyable, and it's nice to watch that again. And as I said, I've seen it enough times that I can dip in and out of it, rather than having to watch the whole thing to be able to keep up with it. But no, very much enjoying that rewatch. I've forgotten how short the episodes of The Good Place are. It is odd in that, especially for a streaming show where you're not confined to, network time slots and advert breaks and stuff like that. Episodes of The Good Place are very short, they're like 20 minutes. And they're so short, in fact, that you have important scenes happening while the credits are rolling. It's one of those things, I think an entire season of The Good Place is about 10 episodes, maybe. So you could probably, you could almost edit it into a movie if you wanted to. The Good Place, episode, let's find out. I think each season's about 10 episodes, is it? Or maybe a little more, like 13 or so. Okay, maybe we definitely wouldn't edit that into a movie. Yeah, it's 13 each one. But they're so incredibly short. Like, I think we got through season 1 in like a day or two. To the degree that when I reckon the words, let's make words good, Dave. I recommended it to my dad years ago. I think he watched the whole thing. But my dad, if I've not mentioned before, my dad is a Methodist minister. So I am, in fact, a son of a preacher now. But I thought he would enjoy it because, one, it's a good comedy, and it's not cringe comedy. My dad doesn't like cringe comedy. Like, he likes shows like Frasier to a point, but then every episode of Frasier, there's something so cringeworthy that it makes him incredibly uncomfortable. He doesn't like it. So Good Place is kind of good comedy for him, but also it's actually got some surprisingly heartfelt moments in it and philosophical thinking in it. So I thought he would like it, and sure enough he did. But when he was visiting one time, I think it was when we were still in Scotland, and I said, well, let's see if you like it. And I think we watched the entire of the first season, because you can watch the whole first season in like 2 hours or something like that. A little longer, but yeah, a couple of hours. So, if you've not watched it, well worth watching. I stand by the fact that the end of the first season is just absolutely wonderful. It's a really, really good... they do some very clever things. If you've not seen it and you don't know the twist at the end of the first season, don't Google it. In fact, don't Google anything about The Good Place. Yeah, I said it's short enough that you could watch the entire first season and then make the decision of whether you want to keep watching it. But if you can watch that first season without knowing how that season ends, you will enjoy it even more. But no, well worth watching. And I do love I mean, like I said, the comedy is good. The characters are very enjoyable, but there's some really good philosophy stuff in there. Like, I do like, there's an episode where they explore the trolley problem in kind of graphic detail, which is incredibly good. And again, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's some really good stuff in the last, when you get to the last couple of episodes of the final season. Oh man, that's tugs on the heartstrings of that. Very, very good. So like I said, if you've not watched it, do watch it. It did make me realise that, mate, there is stuff you watch on Netflix. I'm very tempted. I think I mentioned this before. On Netflix has got really expensive. I mean, clearly it's been expensive for a while, but I didn't notice so much. But now that their password crackdown is in place, so we can't share it with other family members, it's like we are paying a lot of money each month for something we don't watch that often. So maybe we will keep it just on a lower, we'll pay less for it. Oh well. But what it made me think of was the fact that there are these TV shows that, certainly it's the case for us. There are TV shows you can just rewatch and rewatch and rewatch. You kind of go back to them, whether it's because they're just particularly enjoyable, or they fall into that nice kind of mindless fun category where you can be getting on with something and just have them in the background. And it's different for different people. I imagine people have similar sorts of shows that they go to again and again, whether it is something to have on in the background or something that you just want to rewatch with, your partner, family members and the like. For us, if it's a comedy thing, I mean, we've watched The Good Place a few times, but it hasn't quite fallen into that category yet. And maybe it will. But for us, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a good go-to. Because you don't need to pay attention to Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but it is very, very funny. A specifically British one for us is Drop the Dead Donkey, which is a topical comedy show from the 1990s. It's very, very British, and if you weren't alive at the time, I don't think you'll find it particularly... I mean, you will find it funny, but you won't find it as funny as people who are around, because there are lots of, political satire jabs at various government ministers and stuff like that, and if you weren't there and don't know who these people are, it just feels weird. But that was kind of, I think, groundbreaking. Well, certainly one of the things it's known for was the fact that Drop the Dead Donkey, I think, was recorded the week before it aired. And they wrote the script, like 80% of the script, and then the last kind of 10-20% of it was topical jokes about stuff that was happening right then. So it would be about a particular scandal that was happening in the media that week. And as it evolved, they would adjust their lines a little bit, leading up to like the dress rehearsal, like on the day of recording. They might still be tweaking stuff based on developments that week. But when it aired, it was incredibly relevant because they were talking about exactly the thing that was going on. And it was almost like you were watching improv because it was incredibly relevant rather than something that had been pre-recorded, a few months in advance. But no, Drop the Dead Donkey is always a good one we go to. I mentioned Grey's Anatomy. Grey's Anatomy is one that my wife goes to a lot as something to rewatch and have on while she's kind of working and the like. I quite like Grey's Anatomy. Yeah, it is kind of ridiculous in places, but I find myself more often if she's watching it that I will actually be paying attention to what's going on. Yeah, I do quite like it. But my wife watches Desperate Housewives a lot. I'm less fond of that. It's just not really my cup of tea. It's not bad, but it's it doesn't kind of hook me. But each their own. Ones that we both tend to go for. We've rewatched House of Cards quite a number of times. House of Cards, if you've not watched it, absolutely excellent. Very, very strong. Kevin Spacey, Robin Wright. Obviously, the last season, I don't think this is a spoiler to say it, Kevin Spacey is not in the last season because of everything that happened with Kevin Spacey. And I'm not going to kind of talk about that, but I want to say it tars the show, but I think it would be a very different ending, that final season, if he was still in it. But it's still a very, very good show. Very, very good. Shakespearean, I would say, to the degree that I would like to see I'd be intrigued to see a play adaptation of House of Cards, whether it's the British version or the US version. I think you could do something quite interesting with it, kind of treating it like a Shakespearean play, kind of a 5-act kind of structure. I think that'd be good. I mentioned it before, but Battlestar Galactica is definitely one that falls into that category. Which the fact I managed to get my wife to watch Battlestar Galactica in the first place was a miracle. I may have mentioned this before. My wife is not a huge sci-fi fan. In fact, not really at all. It's just not her cup of tea, which is fine. But I managed to get her to watch Battlestar Galactica because I thought she would like it. I genuinely thought she would like it, and she does. But I had to sell it on the fact that it is set in space, but it's not about space. It's about humanity and moral choices, and what do you do when there is only X number of members of humanity left, and the consequences of AI, and all that kind of stuff. So it's not about space battles and aliens and stuff like that. And she absolutely loves it. Really, really popular one in our household, and we watch it every so often. What have you said, Radiantly? The most amazing thing about Grey's Anatomy for me is how long it is. I know, it is ridiculous. It is I think the 20th season has just started. It is ludicrously long running. And the fact that there are there were 3 and now 2, I think, characters who've been through the entire run is ridiculous. So the main character in Grey's Anatomy, Meredith Grey, of which the show is named after, which makes the title very, very smutty, I think. She temporarily left in the last season. I think she might be coming back in the current season. I don't know. But I mean, that's kind of a career, isn't it? If you're on a TV show for 20 years or 19 years or 18 and a half years, when you do the maths of it, that's kind of your entire career, which is weird, isn't it? The fact you could be an actor and go and do a show with a lot of episodes. It's not like these are 10 episode seasons. They're like 20 episode seasons and stuff like that. So it's not like you can say, oh, I record 5 episodes a year and then I go and do, a movie and I do some theatre and I do this, that and the other. If you've got to do like a 20 episode season every single year for like best part 2 decades, that's your career. Now, clearly, she must be minted. They must have been chucking so much money at her to go, please stay, please stay. And that's the deal you make with yourself. I mean, I have no idea whether she enjoyed it or not, or whatever, none of my business. But clearly, they must have been paying her well, because there must have come plenty of times along that road where you go, I would like to go and do other things. And they go, here is a giant stack of cash. Because even if you really, really love it, you would want, surely, you as an actor, you would want to try and do other things. I don't know. But yeah, it is incredibly long. It is ridiculous. Who knows? I think they're coming up on like the 500th episode or something like that, so I wonder if they will try and wrap it up. Who knows? Who knows? But they did make it through COVID. They literally did COVID as a thing in the show. And so obviously you got the actors in PPE, playing their characters in PPE, carrying on doing the show. It was, brave choice. Brave choices. What else? Game of Thrones we've watched many times. When Game of Thrones was still coming out, we would tend to do a rewatch each year before the next season came out. Obviously, the ending, the ending of Game of Thrones, it's not the ending I would have hoped for. With a rewatch, I kind of get why it went that way, and not from a production point of view. From the seeds are planted throughout it. They kind of are. It's still a disappointing ending, I think, which is a shame, because it was a really good show. And it's a shame that for a show with that much build-up that they rushed the end. That seems ridiculous. And kind of from a drama perspective as well, West Wing. West Wing, we did not watch for a very, very long time. In fact, we came to it incredibly late. We only watched it for a couple of years ago, and we actually watched it from start to finish, and then immediately restarted it. But West Wing, absolutely fantastic. And I know it didn't do terribly well, which is weird, but the newsroom is also Aaron Sorkin, and that's absolutely fantastic. Really, really good. Well worth. I would recommend that. Well worth picking up and watching it. I think it didn't do well in America because it's very, very left wing. I think the latter seasons do better exploring the right wing point of view, and it is interesting that the main protagonist in it is a Republican, but I think because he was not a far right Republican, he was an open-minded Republican. I think it because of the politics of it in America, it didn't do as well as it could have done. But it's a really, really good show. I would strongly recommend that. And of course, welcome your ideas here in the chat of shows that fall into this category for you. The ones for me, I think, that I tend to dip in and out of, or I'll put on an episode of, or just have it on the background if I'm working on something. Though having said that, if I'm working, I try to avoid dialogue. Equally, I try and involve songs and sort of stuff with lyrics, because it does distract me. So it really would have to be something where I'm kind of on autopilot doing something. Like back when I was a teacher and I used to do exam marking, I would have a TV show on in the background, because I could separate those two parts of my brain. I was marking, which was a very methodical, it used that kind of rigorous part of my brain, but didn't involve anything creative. Words are pain today. It wasn't using the creative part of my brain, so I could have a TV show in the background and it didn't affect what I was doing. But if I'm writing, for example, and using that creative part of my brain, I can't have a TV show on that day. My brain just doesn't function. But the ones for me, Angel is always a good one to go back to. Again, I'm mentioning controversial ones here because of certain individuals. I mean, obviously, yeah, Buffy, Angel, and anything Joss Whedon-y. Yeah, Joss Whedon kind of sucks, doesn't he? But Angel was a really, really good show. I think better than Buffy. I very much enjoyed Buffy. I've rewatched Buffy many times, but I think on the whole, Angel was a better show. I think the fourth season dips, and that's where some of the Joss Whedon stuff happened. Well, I think it was an issue throughout, but I think what happened with the Cordelia character was clearly related to everything that was going on there, which is a shame. So the fourth season, I think, is a bit of a dip, though there is still some good stuff in it. But I think it's a really, I like the journey they went on with that show. I think the first season is very strong. You have a cast of 3. And it's very kind of, not quite film noir, but, it scratches that itch in terms of a detective show, kind of a dark detective show, which I like. And I love the final season, the last season, with them, with all the Wolfram and Hart stuff. I think that is an incredibly entertaining season, and some good stuff with it. And I think it's interesting that actually the show got cancelled, but it wasn't going to be cancelled. Apparently what happened, and obviously I will take this with a pinch of salt because I think this story came from Joss Whedon, was that it was doing very well, but every year with the Buffy and Angel shows, they waited very, very late before announcing that the show had been picked up again, which was potential issues for the actors and the crew in particular, who had to wait very late in the day to see whether they still had a job. And sometimes they would lose people because they're like, it's incredibly late. If I'm essentially losing my job and being made redundant here, I need to go and get another job to get on board with something for the the next cycle of seasons of shows starting filming, and they lost some people along the way because of that. So apparently what Joss Whedon or some of the producers did is they went to the network and said, look, ratings are really good, we go through this every year, could you just tell us now whether we're cancelled or not? And someone at the studio threw a wobbler and said, you're trying to, strong arm me here, so fine, you're cancelled. And in a really popular series and a really popular end season with very good ratings, it got cancelled. Which is a shame because it was doing really, really well. But I do love Angel, and there's a lot of episodes that I will rewatch in that, just especially in that first season. The first season, there were some incredibly strong and very dark episodes in that first and second season. Very, very good. So I will definitely go back to Angel as something I'd like to have on, or dip in and out of. I fancy watching that one episode again. As some of you in the room know. I mean, I used an episode of it for a Hardboiled Adventures one shot that we did, which is available on stream on Maori Nerds channel, and I linked to it on mine, which was a lot of fun. And that was based off a season 2 episode of Angel. So that's good. And in a slightly different tone, a note on this one, another one I go to is Long Way Round and the sequels they did for that. Now, if you don't know what Long Way Round is, it's kind of a niche thing on this one because I'm not a petrol head or anything like that. But Long Way Round is, they did Long Way Round, Long Way Down, and Long Way Up, which are documentary shows which are Ewan McGregor and his friend and fellow actor Charlie Borman, who do motorcycle journeys across the world. So Long Way Round, they did a motorcycle journey starting in London, I think it was. Yeah, London, and they went east all the way across the world. So they, went down Channel Tunnel all the way across Europe through Russia, then flew across to Alaska, and then did Canada and America and finished in LA. So they went around the world the long way round. And it's about eight episodes, 10 episodes, and then it's fascinating. It's fascinating. They're clearly really good friends. The dynamics between them is very entertaining. But the little glimpses of the world along the way, because it's them on two bikes, and then they've got a director and producer and some cameramen in two like jeeps. But some of the times they're together and sometimes they're not. Oh, and they've got another cameraman with them on a bike. A lot of it's head-mounted cameras, so it's very authentic in terms of what's going on. Like there's some bits they don't have footage for because they couldn't shoot certain bits, or stuff got lost. And it's not like, oh, we're sending one guy off, but he's actually got a giant support crew with him, where actually they were never in any danger and nothing bad could have happened, and clearly very manufactured. Let's do another take of that. It seems very, very genuine, and it's very entertaining. They then did a sequel a couple of years later, which was Long Way Down, where they went from the top of Scotland all the way down to Cape Town at the bottom of Africa. That was very good as well, and there's some grim stuff in there, when they go through Rwanda and places like that. And then only a couple of years ago, so quite a long time later, Apple TV approached them to do another one, and they did Long Way Up. They did that from the bottom of South America, going up to, I can't remember where they went to. It may have been LA again. Maybe it wasn't. I can't remember. It might have been LA they went up to. But that one they did. One, it was a return to it because they hadn't done it in so many years. It's quite a bit older. But also they did it on electric motorbikes. So that's a whole theme in that third trip they do. Is the practicalities of traveling on electric motorbikes in places that don't have charging stations. So that they are really, really interesting. I really want to watch them again now. I may have to do that. So those are a go-to. Not in my usual kind of, I'd like to watch a drama, I'd like to watch a fantasy, a sci-fi thing. Those are really, really good. And well worth watching. Yeah, chance. If you do have Apple TV, I'm pretty sure they're all on there. I don't know if they're in other places because Apple TV now has the rights to them all, but they were originally on the BBC. And what else? I guess the other one to not watch is Star Trek-y stuff. So I starts a sentence and takes a drink. So I grew up with Star Trek. My mum is a Trekkie, so she grew up with the original series. I remember seeing Trouble with Tribbles for the first time on video. And I don't really remember. I remember bits of when Next Generation was on, but I didn't watch it because I wasn't really old enough. I wasn't old enough. When did Next Gen come? Next Gen starting like 89 or something? Star Trek, The Next Generation. 87. Yeah, so that's in 87. I was born in 85. So I don't really remember it being on. I remember it sort of being on. It finished in 94. So I do remember it kind of being on, but I didn't watch it because I was too young to watch it, really. And this is when we get into the odd section, because Deep Space Nine I didn't watch from the start. I did watch Voyager from the start when that came out, and I'm pretty sure I basically watched the entire of Voyager's run. There is a little gap in the middle where we moved house to somewhere that had cable, so we kind of jumped into the middle of season 4, so suddenly 7 of 9 was there, and I had to go back and watch the episodes we missed. But I basically watched that from start to finish, from its premiere to its last episode. Deep Space Nine, I started watching from about season 4, religiously. And then I went back and watched seasons 1, 2, and 3. But because Deep Space Nine, if I'm going to rewatch a Star Trek, there are selected episodes that are very, very good on all of them. But if I'm going to just dive in or binge and go, right, I'm going to go watch something from start to finish, it's going to be Deep Space Nine. Because I think that it's just incredibly strong. So that would be my go-to in that respect. I mean, I have a great fondness for Voyager because it is the kind of one I watched from the start. But I think there are definitely weaker episodes. I think it's more maybe the average episode is not as strong in Voyager as it is in Deep Space Nine, especially in the thing with Voyager. And this is not a controversial thought on it, is inevitably in the first couple of seasons of most Star Trek, they're finding their feet. So they're still trying to figure out what the best character dynamics are. There are some bits that don't work. Where they try and kind of replicate the feel of a previous Trek, and it doesn't quite work with the chess pieces they've got in the current show. So the first couple of seasons, there are wobbly bits, of course there are. And the problem with the latter seasons of Voyager is they just focused on 3 characters. It was essentially, for the most part, it was a Janeway episode, a 7 of 9 episode, or a Doctor episode. Now, those are all 3 amazing characters, but it means you do a disservice to the rest of the ensemble. And it means it's been discussed to death. There are too many cop-outs which are, we'll use nanoprobes and a Borg thing going on. The Borg are clearly overused, and that is one of my few complaints of Picard Season 3, is I wish it weren't the Borg again. So Voyager, I think the standard of the average episode is not as strong. There are some bloody spectacular Voyager episodes. There are some really good 2-parters in there, and specific episodes that, the second it came out on Netflix, I was like, yeah, I'll watch that one. But I haven't really watched whole seasons since, I haven't watched them odd late. I haven't watched whole seasons with Voyager, but I have with Deep Space Nine. I have rewatched various bits of it. I did start a rewatch a little while back, and I got to about season 3, 4-ish, and got distracted by something else. Because, again, it was that problem of I can't write while having narrative stuff on. I was watching it when I was doing a lot of eBaying. So before and after the move, when a lot of my evenings were spent eBaying things to declutter, I would have Deep Space Nine on. I've also repeatedly watched the last 2 seasons, so all the really strong Dominion War stuff, which is incredibly good. So Deep Space Nine is definitely a go-to on that one. And the thing is, if I get rid of Netflix, I'm gonna have to get Paramount Plus, aren't I? I've been tempted by Paramount Plus, but I don't want to sign up for another streaming service. But if I am getting rid of Netflix, I'll probably end up getting Paramount Plus. Oh well, what are you gonna do? Just try and be sensible with money is what I'm going to try and do. So, I mean, that's kind of I know it's kind of a rambling one today, but these were my kind of it's something I hadn't talked about a bit. Which what are those shows that you just go back to all the time? And I think there are definitely 2 categories, and in all those things I've listed there are shows there that I could have on in the background. So, I'm blaming K of Double K for this, who I can see is lurking in the room here. Yeah, he mentioned streamers have itchy noses, and I made a joke about white people. It's not that. But yeah, it does give you the second you realise as a streamer you've got an itchy nose, you can't do anything but bloody scratch it. Our train of thought has derailed somewhere. Yes, 2 different types of show there. Don't scratch your bloody nose. 2 different types of show. There are ones you can have on in the background and get on with something, and there are ones that I will just go back and I want to just watch it, and I will do nothing else. I mean, maybe I'll glance at my phone, but I won't be actively doing something while I'm watching it, And I think a lot of those will be things that I'll have in the background, but there are even things like, I think Battlestar Galactica and House of Cards, and probably West Wing as well, are things that I would, if I'm rewatching them again, and I bloody will watch them again many, many times, is I will that is the thing I have settled down to do, is watch that particular show, not I'm getting on with something else and I need something on in the background. So I'm curious for you, what are those go-to shows for you? What are those shows that you can just keep coming back to again and again, either just have as background noise, or the ones that are like, no, I want to go on that journey again. I want to go from start to finish and go through that whole run of it. I imagine, given the kind of geek creds of the room and the sort of kind of people I attract to my channel, I imagine there'll be some similar ones there. I mean, Radiant Leader, so you mentioned Angel on that one as being a good show, but I'm curious what those ones are for you. I mean, or if you even have them at all. I mean, you know, I talked about settling down to watch a show. I don't do that often because I have a small child, and when I get to the evening, I don't have a lot of time. So I'll be writing, or I'll actually, I'll mostly be writing, or I'll be streaming. So I don't get as much time for that anymore. And there's so much new stuff around. I mean, I've ranted about this many times. You know, my backlog of shows is, you know, far too long. But there we go. Anyway. Finished Ted Lasso recently, and it was great. Ted Lasso was brilliant. I think I do need to rewatch that. I didn't watch it when it first came out, so the first season of that I didn't watch live, as it were. I mean, I really like all the stuff they've done before. I mean, who is it? It's Bill Lawrence. Bill Lawrence, who did Scrubs and Spin City, created Ted Lasso. But also, obviously, Jason Sudeikis was heavily involved in the creation of all of it throughout the whole way. I didn't watch it, first of all, but essentially because I'm not a big football fan. I don't mind football, you know. I have, you know, been in many pubs and watched, you know, football and rugby and sports in general, but I'm not a big football fan. And so again, to settle down and watch a new show, I'm not too fussed about a football show. And then I think it was a recommendation from, I want to say it was Rick Carranza. Yeah, I think it was Rick Carranza and Matt Blair. Were talking about it back when they were doing the Geekatorium podcast. They were talking about and ranting and raving about how great it was, and just how, not just how good it is, but how nice it is. And I thought, yeah, let's settle down and watch it. And my review of Ted Lasso is, the first episode is pretty good. The second episode onwards are exceptional. They are just they're entertaining, they're funny, and they're wholesome and nice and lovely. And I think at the time it was coming out, which was, you know, politically rough and pandemic, I needed nice and wholesome and warm and fluffy. And that show just makes you feel, it just makes you feel really, really nice and lovely. And I hate the word nice, you know. But it is just a nice comfort show. So I binged the first season. I then watched season 2 and 3, I think, as they came out. No, I didn't watch all season 3 as it came out. I think I was watching something else at the time, and then I binged most of that. But no, that's really, really good. I recommended that to my mum, and she and her husband just watched all of it, kind of immediately in a row. It's so good. What did he say? I'm not a football fan at all, but a friend recommended it so many times I gave in. It is just so good. It is. I'm now onto Disenchantment. I don't know Disenchantment. I have heard of it, but I don't know much about. Oh, this is Matt Groening's one, isn't it? It's the kind of fantasy satire one, isn't it? I have heard about this, and I've heard it is surprising in terms of where it goes and what it is, because in the sense that the animation style looks like Simpsons and Futurama, but Simpsons and Futurama it is not, as far as I understand. It goes to places you don't expect in terms of the darkness and the stakes. So I should give that a go. I forgot that show even existed. I should do that. I feel it's dragging a bit. That's a shame. I should look into that and see where it is, how much of it there is, and you know whether I want to dive into that one. But I had forgotten that existed. Always good to have a recommendation, so thank you for that. Thank you. Let's wrap this up. So, what is happening rest of the week? Well, no lunch chat with games on Wednesday, I'm afraid. I have to be in the office in London on Wednesday, so can't do that. I might try and do it on Thursday or Friday. We'll see. But kind of watch this space on that one. But it definitely won't be Wednesday. I know that much. But I'll try and do one because I'm really enjoying those lunch streams with games. In terms of gaming streams, I'm hopeful that I'll get to do one this week. The writing I'm doing for the charity project is nearly done, which is awesome. So I get my evenings back to do a bit more streaming, which would be good. So I think I'll definitely be doing a retro Mega Drive stream. That'll be the next gaming stream I do. I think it'll either be a playthrough of Golden Axe, maybe Comic Zone, which is so weird but so much fun. And also less of a narrative one, but I do fancy playing Psycho Pinball. Psycho Pinball for the Mega Drive was, I think, one of the best pinball games that has ever been made. So that's very, very good. And most of those are available on the Mega Drive collection, which I have on my Xbox. Some are not, but I actually have the cartridge somewhere. So I will emulate them, but I do need to get myself a USB Mega Drive controller or something similar I can use for playing that, because while some of them I'll happily play with keys, like I can play Psycho Pinball with keys, there are other games I'd actually like to use a proper controller for. And annoyingly, I have the old style Xbox One controllers that don't work just as Bluetooth controllers, which sucks. And I'm not going to buy a brand new Xbox controller just for playing, games on my Mac. Because Xbox controllers are really bloody expensive. There we go. Anything else? I don't think so. So I think let us, start to wrap this up then. You know where to find me. I'm DC Bradshaw RPG on Twitter. I am at dcbradshaw.com on Blue Sky. I have a Ko-Fi account. It's in the bottom corner of this page. If you'd like to follow me, that is great. If you'd like to support me, that would be fantastic. But absolutely no pressure to do so. What I would ask though, pretty please, if you follow me here, there are 73 people who follow me here. Please follow me on YouTube. I have 12 subscribers on YouTube, and it's difficult to get momentum with only 12 people. So if you follow me here, please follow me on YouTube. Or if there's one of these streams that you've particularly enjoyed, whether it's a gaming one or a lunch chat with games or whatever it might be, grab the link from the YouTube and just share it on socials. That'd be great. It's really hard to get momentum with YouTube because I don't stream live to it. So that would be wonderful if you could do that. I really appreciate that. There's no one that I know who is streaming, so we don't have a raid today. So I think I will just bid you all a very good Monday. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will speak to you all soon. Okay? Bye-bye.